Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Please put on your prayer chute and prepare for jump.
It's Mercury retrograde. That means it's time for our Soulmart.me Mercury retrograde sale. Like a 1-hour reading with Christopher Witecki, normally $159, retrogrades back to $95.10. Or try a 15-minute psychic look reading with Zen Shoemaker. She retrogrades down to $45 for a 15-minute reading. Or try the Act 3 Orbits Report. And the Jupiter Gets Emotional retrogrades the same to 1111. At Soulmart.me, mind, body, and soul improvement.
Soul Garden.
Namaste, and welcome to Soul Horoscopes Orbits Edition. From my webcam to yours, I'm Christopher Witecki, your astrologer and soul biographer, here to help you put the pieces of your soul story together. And before we dive into your horoscope, I just want to give some gratitude to all those who have donated to soulgarden.tv in the last week. Thank you so much. And for those people who have purchased readings as well. We are continuing the sale. It has helped our situation, and we are very grateful. Also, this is a special horoscope designed to cover the entire 10-day period of before and after the solar eclipse that's coming up, and I'll be talking about that. So this is a special soul horoscope designed to help you through this quantum intention time. So the sun is in sexy Scorpio. We are working on our intimacy, our boundaries, our transformation, and we're working on committing to infinity. That's how serious Scorpios take it. We're going to deal with our core boundaries, and a solar eclipse is going to give us a quantum shift on November 3rd. Now, the moon signs most affected from the eclipse on are Scorpio in the eclipse, then Sag, Capricorn is very affected, and Aquarius is at the end of the week. The moon signs most affected by this, of course, are going to be the Tauruses and Scorpios, Sag and Geminis, Capricorns and Cancers, and Aquarius and Leos. But the orange ones are the moon signs that might go into depression or the dark side based on the fact that it's the anti-sign right now. Now, looking at orbits, man, I want to point out what the solar eclipse is going to do to our chakras. You may not know this, but Scorpio actually rules two chakras, the back of the throat and the front of the solar plexus there. The orange chakra works with Taurus, and that's what gives Scorpio the ability to rule the number 0 and complete a boundary around the soul. So this particular eclipse is going to be a tug-of-war in some senses because of the Earth is going to be located in Taurus, and the sun and moon, of course, in Scorpio. So this really is the creation and death transit, and a very powerful one. And each of your horoscopes, I'll be talking about how you can have some quantum creation in this solar eclipse. Now, looking at the planets, the most compelling thing to me is this Yod, which is a big part of the build-up to the solar eclipse. It's basically God giving us the finger, sacred geometry here, pointing to Uranus to innovate our egos. So in your horoscopes, I'll be talking about how you want to channel these other two parts of yourself, the new boundaries and your aggression, into the evolution of your ego and the evolution of how you act or react in society. Now, this square is still also happening, and it's important for you to know that because the Yod is being affected by the square, which means part of the innovation deals with you have to innovate or revolutionize the rules you subscribe to. And then finally, this black Lilith Grand Trine really reaches its most apex important point. We've been having this trine for weeks. This is our emotional healing underneath the seams of what we're seeing on top of our realities. And ultimately, because of the solar eclipse hitting one corner of the trine, you're going to see this issue carry out in the rest of your life. And I'll be talking about that in the horoscopes as well. Another thing I want to point out, which is really groovy, is actually this. Venus is entering and now conjuncting the galactic center this week. This is where the sun had conjuncted for the Mayan shift, etc. So this means we're going to start sensing some real high cosmic vibrations coming down from the heavens. Another interesting thing here, this is the party, Mercury, Saturn, and the sun in Scorpio. But actually, this whole eclipse is happening in the constellation of Ophiuchus. You've probably heard before that there's a 13th constellation. Well, kind of not so much true. The truth is, this is Ophiuchus here, and this is the Scorpio constellation. But it's not that there's a 13th constellation. It's that they used in the sky one little marker to represent the whole box of Scorpio. And so some astronomers who don't understand astrology assume that because there's extra space there, that we can just fit another constellation there in our zodiac. But the truth is that Scorpio rules the whole quadrant. It's just that Scorpio, in a very hiding way, is hiding in the corner. And that's part of actually the mythology of Scorpio, is that the constellation is, of course, hiding in the Scorpio den, waiting for some victim to fall in there, right? Maybe Ophiuchus. All right, well, that's all I have for now. Let's take the ascension elevator up and see what's going on with you.
Folks, this is your captain speaking. We realize you have a choice in the astrologers you choose to fly with, and we'd just like to thank you for flying with Christopher Witecki.
Hello, my captains and my Capricorn risings, and welcome now to 33,000 feet. First class, by the way. And we are talking about a new sign now, the Sun in Scorpio, and this is going to be a pretty intense flight for you. This is an intense flight for everyone. Put your seatbelts on. There might be a little spiritual turbulence. Now, that said, it's time for a change. The Capricorns are really on a huge path. Now, I know you really love your career, and that's what it's all about. But right now, a lot of what's holding back Capricorns and Capricorn risings has to do with where they are associating in the world, where you are feeling you belong. And Capricorns are unusually loyal in many ways, even when it's bad for them. And so this is a difficult transition for them, because you're having to really say that you are above certain situations before you may feel like you deserve it. And so you're having to cut above before you have the check or the bank account or anything else. The universe is telling you to put your money where your mouth is and have faith in yourself. And so there's no guarantee. And boy, Capricorns just don't like when there's not a guarantee. But unfortunately, there never was a guarantee. That was an illusion. And once you get through this first obstacle, I think you'll feel and understand that. This really is, though, the beginning of a new you. When you jump out of this social pond or friendship association or quit whatever community that you're in, or whatever, however it is you're shifting, where you change, where you feel like you belong, this is technically the first step. One small step for goats, one giant step for goat kind when it comes to the new Capricorn in Pluto and Capricorn. So it really is, this is the hanging last little part here, is that you're holding on to old associations. This is what keeps the new you from coming out. I don't think most Capricorns want to come out in front of their old friends anyways. So you'll be happy to know that it's going to be win-win in the end, which is how God Universe always sets it up, as you're going to see. So this week, we are actually stepping into context consciousness. This is how your heart feels like it belongs or doesn't belong. And that's really how we gauge where we belong. By law of attraction, we should be around like hearts in the story. Just like stars in space, if they're like, they hang out around each other. So this is your belongings, this is your friendship, belonging as far as I belong to this club, I belong to this, I'm a member of that. And this moves into diplomacy, and technically light casting in the solar eclipse is in the Department of Diplomacy, which means that you'll be light casting a new diplomacy, a new way of putting yourself out there, which again is the birth of the Pluto 2.0 ego. I think it is. Now in the state of Cancer, it's about relationships, and this is going to finally get a break. You've been pushing from marriage all the way to new kinds of relationships, and you can see how this is very coordinated in the sense of you've got where you feel like you belong under construction on one hand, and then on the other side you've had under construction how you think you should marry and the kind of people you should marry. So the two issues really do cause co-stuff. But what's going to happen is Jupiter retrogrades on November 7th, but Black Lilith keeps going forward. So what that means is you're going to take a break on official relationship development, but you're going to unofficially keep developing with Black Lilith, and your courage is going to keep racing ahead. In fact, at the end of the month, there's a point when Black Lilith actually conjuncts Jupiter and rolls over it. So that will be on November 27th, sometime around Thanksgiving. So that should be very interesting. And I think for a lot of people, this is people rolling past their family issues over Thanksgiving, and I've been putting that out there in my personal readings with people talking about that. So in the week leading up to the solar eclipse, which is on November 3rd. The most important thing is Thursday, the 31st, Halloween. On Halloween, we really are putting the death to something. In your case, the death to the old clan, the old group, the old associations, the old marketing plan, the old approach to presenting yourself in the world, the old assumptions when you walked in the world. What was your assumption going out there? That you're a slave, that you're an empress, that you're this, that you're that. Those presumptions are dying now, okay? And they must go so that you can reinvent yourself the way you want to and create this new Pluto 2.0 that we've been talking about for 5 years now. So on Thursday, you have to decide, and with the moon in Libra, it's a sensitive, wishy-washy kind of day. It also is a day, though, where career weighs heavy on you. So career is playing a heavy part of this and probably holding you up as far as being wrongly associated. I'll tell you right now, if you're associating with people that you don't like just because they could help you in your career, shallow, hello Capricorn, way to be Capricorn 1.0, ooh. We'll just keep them around for the business context. That will kill you, I'll tell you, because people will take advantage of that. It has to be because it's good for me and it's good for you. So on Friday, you're going to act on getting the hell out of Dodge and, packing up your desk, getting out of whatever that is. Saturday, you are loving and trusting that you didn't screw up, and you're holding that space on Saturday. So that's the lead up to the solar eclipse on Sunday. So looking at Sunday, the solar eclipse energy is really powerful. It's at 11 degrees. That means that it's going to be a healing integrity, super punch, and this is a great amount of like a basket of energy. Everyone's going to feel good for a few days. You can start to feel it before the eclipse. You will definitely feel it after the eclipse. This will be you finally feeling like you've brushed off your shoulders issues of associating with the wrong people, which is very liberating to the inner child. And so it's not just the birth of a new place, it's also the freedom of your child to go be what he or she wants to be. So looking at some of the stuff, Pluto, this is the part that I was talking about where at 9 degrees, it's saying time to act on and head towards, time for goats to head towards the new ego, the new Pluto 2.0. Boy, that was a blast from the past. Neptune retrograde at 2 degrees is the self-compassion, and I have to say self-mercy. That's my new word now, self-mercy. It's not just about being compassionate, it's about being merciful on yourself so that you could beat yourself up, you could punish yourself, but you're not. You're going to be merciful. So self-mercy. Uranus at 9 degrees, also retrograde. This is where the yacht is pointing. And this has to do with your own sensibilities of emotion. So Caps and Cap risings have got to innovate the way they take care of themselves emotionally, meaning better, stronger, better bottles, better blankies, better wind-up toys, always improving the crib, literally, okay? That is a prescription from me. Now, the whole solar eclipse happens in Scorpio, and the interesting thing is, on Lycast Day itself, on the eclipse, there will be a lot of Uranian energy in Saturn and Scorpio. So this means that not only are you changing the boundaries, but you might be changing the rules, changing the game. You might be finding yourself, if you're leaving an organization, you might be getting an exit or a package plan like no one's ever gotten before. So you definitely want to go for the gusto, even on the exit, says Uranus there. And what's interesting is just a couple days later on Tuesday, Saturn goes to 14 degrees, which is really cool, which means that we have almost immediate breakthrough and results. I'm going to talk more on that in just a minute. So Lycast Day, Jupiter, this is the part that is pushing you to get new relationships. Capricorns and Capricorn risings are divorcing, they're leaving friends, they're finding new friends. This is very common in my clients when I'm talking to them. But it's funny because we have this big punch of putting you out there in a new world, and at the same time with this big punch of putting you into a new type of relationship. And then what happens right after the eclipse? Well, Jupiter retrogrades on Thursday. So the universe wastes no time, like, okay, and we're done. That's a wrap, And so the choreographer, Jupiter, which is very much the choreographer, pretty much wraps it all up, which is super funny. So one thing to point out is Tuesday, the world goes nuclear on Tuesday. So we have this solar eclipse. It's a big punch. It's like I am free. It's integrity. I want to be who I want and go where I want to go. And then on Tuesday, something happens. And in this case, the moon is in Sagittarius. And so Capricorns are very private, will be very private Tuesday, Wednesday, almost going into a bit of a cocoon or hibernation. And withdrawing. And then the moon comes out on Thursday. See those butterflies? You're going to just want to fly away and feel free. So there's like this rebirthing butterfly process, a little tiny one. And notice too that on that butterfly day, that's when it's like, okay, we're on hiatus for 6 months when it comes to new relationship development, but you're going to run forward in your mind and in your imagination 100%. So it's interesting. Now on Friday, it's a Neptune ruled day, so you're kind of logging in and figuring out what exactly do you feel, what exactly do you think as far as what might be next, as far as what groups or associations you might want to associate yourself with. And so it's a real intuitive day, good shopping day. The moon's in Capricorn. You're going to be feeling very good on that day regardless. Then on Saturn Day, November 9th, this day is actually an all-stop day. Where it's time to decide and commit to what it is that you think you might want to do next, or where you think you might want to belong. So we very quickly in 1 week go from I'm definitely not this to nuclear, I think it's this, to Saturday, yep, that's going to be what it is. So you can see how like space-time has been kind of crunched here, and God, universe, as I like to say, is really pushing life to move extremely fast. Extremely fast. So it's time to jump out of the airplane now, and when we get to the bottom, I've got a new Serious Joy toy for you based on Scorpio. We're going to abandon that old toy now and get a brand new shiny one after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Please put on your prayer chute and prepare for jump.
It's Mercury retrograde. That means it's time for our Soulmart.me Mercury retrograde sale. Like a 1-hour reading with Christopher Witecki, normally $159, retrogrades back to $95.10. Or try a 15-minute psychic look reading with Zen Shoemaker. She retrogrades down to $45 for a 15-minute reading. Or try the Act 3 Orbits Report. And the Jupiter Gets Emotional retrogrades the same to 1111. At Soulmart.me, mind, body, and soul improvement.
Hello, my captains, and I'm so glad you made it back down safely to the bottom here in our Serious Joy toy, Witecki Theater. So I'm going to give you a new joy toy. In fact, this is a two-part joy toy because we got to get started here in Scorpio, a different change. We got to have something else imaginary in our hearts to kind of think about and use as our little play. So to start off this, I have to say this week, in the week leading up to the solar eclipse, you want to dismiss your branding and marketing department. I don't care who they are, they're just not qualified for the new Capricorn. That means that if you've been like basing out how you shop on this girlfriend or how you decorate your house on that friend, not anymore. Everyone is dismissed. You're going to be hiring completely new branding and marketing people, so do not associate yourself with any of the old. You can always rehire them later if you want to, not a big deal. And secondly, it's time to organize a world tour. So I think for the solar eclipse, the next good step for the captains is for them to organize a world tour. It's time to visit operations. That means it's time for you to go see how your empire and marketing is going. But we don't necessarily have an idea of where we want it to go, but I think you should be out there planning. So think of those terms as an empress or CEO or king of your property, and go tour your operations. All right, captains, I'm very grateful as always. Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting some new Capricorns. I've been meeting a lot of you in readings. Don't forget, I do 15 minutes now, so if you want to just pop in and ask a question, it can be done. So I'm super excited. Thank God it's the technology. I'll see you in 7 days. Live, love, be.
SoulGarden.tv.
Live, love, be was my phrase, man. I told him when I was in prison.
In prison?
Well, the fucking establishment, man. The state of California, it's all Nixon run, man. I was in for 25 years.
For medicinal marijuana?
It wasn't medicinal back then, man. They considered it a crime.
Ew.
Welcome to the establishment, kids. For my sacrifice, you can now smoke it up anytime you want. I did the time. You can do the crime.